All righty.
Hi, everybody. I'm back today with Tanya Dawson, one of the local writers with whom I am in a writing group. She is expecting to release her very first fiction novel. Well, they say fiction novel, novels are fiction. Her very first novel here by this fall called Anderson Light. Hi, Tanya. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you, Rachel, for having me.
Wonderful to see you, and thank you for joining in on the second of my impromptu 5 to 10 minute author to author chats. So please do tell us a little bit about Anderson Light. What's it about?
So Anderson Light is about well, first of all, it's a bright, non-dark young adult novel intentionally, even though there is some angst and there's some moments that seem dark, like the character is going through something, but it's not like a dark fantasy novel like some of the others we've read. And it's about a young girl who goes through something at home with her family, with her stepfather particularly, and ends up, as a result of saving her family, moving to her father's place, the place that she was born, and living with him. And there's a lighthouse there. There's a lighthouse keeper. His name's Luther, and he becomes her mentor. She ends up finding out that she has some kind of special abilities because she has something happen where one of her new friends at this new place called Mystic Creek has a bully picking on him, and when she steps in she has an anger response that comes back from the earlier situation, kind of comes back, the one from the family situation. So anyway, this whole thing catalyzes her, and something happens inside of her. And so the book is about how this happens and how she learns to work with the things that are happening inside of her body and in the emotions. So she's had some hits on her confidence, and her mentor, his name is Luther, the lighthouse keeper, helps her move through getting her confidence back, getting her juju back, so to speak. So and then they have some other situations happen in the book, but the idea is that if she can get through what she went through and not have it inform her life, and also degrade her ability to understand her gifts and develop them, then anybody can, right? So so this is kind of an encouraging situation, even though then she goes through some things to get there. And the fun thing is that the gifts that she has are pretty fun too. So that's going to be interesting to see how people learn about those.
It seems like a really uplifting sort of coming of age, rite of passage story. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, I call it becoming who you are, because she's becoming who she really is. And anybody who finds themselves in a position where, they don't feel like they fit in, or whatever the situation is, they're becoming who they are. So it's anyone who's becoming who you are, or wants to, or knows someone who they're going through that. So that's how I see it.
Very relatable, and I love that there's a fantasy twinge to it. I'm personally a big fan of mostly young adult fantasy. I think that adult fantasy can be very involved, and there's a whole lot of world building, and with young adult fantasy there is a lot of world building, but it seems to be lighter and easier to latch onto. Speaking of light, I noticed that behind you there is a poster of a lighthouse.
Yes, it's a vinyl poster, and it's a lighthouse. It's actually, I wanted to have something to inspire me, because everything's set at a lighthouse. And even though in our world, even though there is a world I had to build that you learn about in the book, and it's most of the book is set at the lighthouse, or the lighthouse estate, and also the high school, Mystic Creek High School. And this is actually a lighthouse that's in France. and I wanted something that not everybody around here would say, oh, I've seen that lighthouse in Michigan or whatever. So they're not kind of identifying Anderson Light as a specific lighthouse. And also but if you can see, it's actually my closet doors, and my husband took a box cutter so that I could open the doors, but I wanted something like that. So it's kind of my background, and I get inspired when I come in here. So we're writing about lighthouses and when you're living in the desert, right?
Yes. Well, see, that was my next question was, was the story inspired by the poster or the poster inspired by the story? So now we have that answer. We can just, yeah, that's wonderful. I stumbled earlier over something. I said a fiction novel, and as anybody in the writing world knows, novels are fiction. But the reason I stumbled over saying that was because before we got on, you'd mentioned that this was your first novel and that this isn't the kind of writing you're used to. If anything, it's the complete opposite of fiction. How did you make that sort of transition?
Well, I had been wanting to write a story about a kid who overcame adversity and was able to become who she was. And I also was writing for years for computer security policies and security plans and test plans and all these kinds of technical writing. And so I worked in the defense and intel business doing that. And so actually, one of the things they tell you is, as you know, is to write what you know. So there is a special black project or whatever in the book that causes a kidnapping, and I hopefully I haven't told too much, but yeah. So I have incorporated some of that. The fact is that this is way more fun to write than computer security stuff. We call it cybersecurity.
Really? More exciting to write?
More exciting, a lot more fun. And there's, even though we have rules and there's a whole, like, the industry is way different than what I was used to. I mean, I was used to a completely different industry. So I'm learning the ways of this industry, and is way different, of course. But the writing is, well, I don't have to write governmentese. I don't have specific requirements on how things are land. I don't have outlines. There's not this big production. And actually I got to write this, and I think it helped me. I think it did help because I was able to bring it all together and bring different pieces together, which I was used to doing before.
So speaking of outlines and whatnot, I'm personally a pantser, and I don't know if you know the difference between plotters and pantsers. I'm pretty sure you do because you handed my son a magazine about pantsers. But for those people listening who don't know the difference, a plotter is somebody who outlines their story before they write, and they write based on that outline. And a pantser are wild, feral, fey sort of people like me who get an idea and just have to get it down, and they get through the first 3 chapters and go, oh wait, I have to go back and fix. Is your writing process, because I know you came from a plotting world, are you in a pantsing world?
I am a pantser. I was a pantser shoved into a plotting world.
How are you enjoying that change?
Well, I tell you what, it's how I am. So it's the way it is, and so, but I have to say there are certain drawbacks for me anyway, I found, which is there was a lot more editing involved because I'm writing free flow. So I'm kind of connecting with, my higher self or the editors of in the spirit world or whatever's going on. I don't know. I'm just letting it come through. I have some ideas and I'm helping shape it, like my hands are the hands on the novel, or my hands are the hands on the pottery wheel, if you will. But what happens then is I have to go back and kind of massage it more. I think I've heard that. I don't know, because I'm not I'm not an outliner, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so I understand that outliners don't have the editing, the heavy editing that we pantsers do. But
wouldn't it be great if we could mesh the two somehow? I wish I could be a plotter, but Even throughout university, I was never a plotter. I was definitely a pantser when it came even to the most technical of papers. I faked my way, but I made it. But I think that's the fun of writing, of being a writer, is that sometimes, I don't know if it was this way for you, but the characters, they don't always do what you want them to do. Sometimes you have their voice and you want them to say, and something else comes in and they say, no, that's not what I would say. That's not how I would do it. And they build themselves. And I can't imagine how a plotter would, do they experience that? Do you experience that as a pantser?
Yes, yes. And I want to say what I was surprised to find out is that they actually kind of have lives of their own, certainly personalities of their own and so on. And I actually had a time where I kind of had to put, I don't know, had to, but I put the writing away for just a little bit. So, I didn't write this like, you're fast, you're really fast. I wrote this over a long period of time. Mostly I say I wrote it and then I edited it for a long period of time. But what I found out after I kind of put it aside for a little bit, for whatever reason, vacation or something was going on, my characters started talking to me in my head. I started seeing them lounging around on the couches and sofas and overstuffed chairs. And one of them was upset because I changed his name from Harry to Harvey. And the other characters explained to him that it was because they didn't want anyone thinking I was trying to be a Harry Potter person, which I am a Harry Potter person, but I'm not writing, I'm not trying to recreate that. And so, so they explained it. He calmed down, realized, oh, Harvey was a pretty good name,
Harvey's
And
excellent
so,
name.
but here are these characters talking to one another in my head, and I'm seeing them in my mind, this way. So I actually kind of wrote a little bit, I kind of wrote some of their conversations down and call them my character conversations and put them on Facebook a few years ago. I don't know if they're still out there, but.
Well, I've heard a beep in my background, so I hate to cut everything short, but I have brownies in the oven, and this is supposed to only be a short little interview. I would love to pick your brain again sometime if you're available. So let me know in the future if you have any other things you would like to chat about, because I'm always up for a chat. But for those of you who are new to our Ms. Tanya Dawson, she can be found on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, I see from her lovely bookmark that I have here. I will post as many links as possible attached to this video. And you should definitely check her out, give her a chat and see what she's all about. I think that, Tanya, you are a very fascinating person, and my life has definitely been colored for the better for having met you. So thank you again for joining me as my second person for my author to author chats. And
Thank you, Rachel. This has been a joy. I look forward to doing it again sometime.
Absolutely.
And you're amazing. Yeah, your fandom and your cult following. Yeah,
a cult following.
Yeah. Whoa, they're coming out of the woodwork here. Look at.
I didn't realize I had a cult following.
At the book signing, you were in action. It was really great. Thank you so much. And I don't want your brownies to burn.
Hopefully not. I'll send you a picture of them later. And for those of you who watch this, you might want to check out my pictures of them on Twitter, because I am using a very peculiar pan. Ooh. Let's see what they look like. Again, thank you so much, Tanya. Have a great day. Thanks for spending time with me.
Thank you, Rachel. Bye now.
Bye-bye.